For those of you who have attended a Vishwa Talk before, a warm welcome back. And for our new joinees, here's a little bit about us. Vishwa Talks is a program to create awareness amongst people and make a positive impact in the society. Here, we invite experts to discuss and explore diverse opinions, different perspectives, various issues, problems, and their solutions on various fields, including art and culture, healthcare, environment, education, and many more. Each webinar is an interactive session with a deeper understanding of the topic at hand. If you miss any part of the session or would like to go through the previous sessions, please visit our website, which is vishwa.org, or Vishwa Talks YouTube channel. It is my great pleasure to introduce our esteemed speaker, Dr. Shishir R. Rawal, a visionary whose work bridges the worlds of landscape, architecture, ecological restoration, and participatory design across 4 continents and 4 decades. Dr. Rawal is the co-founder and principal of SAS Energies, a design and knowledge consultancy that blends science, ethics, and creativity to transform landscapes, whether wild, rural, or urban, into vibrant, sustainable ecosystems. Under his leadership, the firm has successfully completed over 20 projects with a unique emphasis on values-based and research-informed practices. Excuse me. With a deep commitment to holistic ecosystem revival, especially of Vishwamitra River watershed in Gujarat, Dr. Rawal's work is rooted in environmental psychology, ecological sciences, traditional knowledge systems, and even a touch of serendipity. An academic at heart, he has taught and conducted research at the prestigious institutions, including the University of Michigan, NC State University, and MS University of Baroda, contributing richly to both curriculum and community. His educational journey includes a PhD and MS and Masters from the University of Michigan, and Master of Landscape Architecture from School of Planning and Architecture in New Delhi, and a Bachelor's in Architecture from MSU Vadodara. He is also a fellow member of the Indian Society of Landscape Architects and a lifelong learner and teacher who inspires change through critical thinking, collaboration, and compassion. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Shishir R. Rawal. As we dive into today's interesting discussion, I would like to inform our audiences that the speaker will be taking questions from you after our main talk. So please leave your questions in the chat box or use the raise hand tool in the React section of Zoom, and we will allow you to ask your questions in person. I request everyone to turn on the webcam while interacting with the speaker. Kindly keep the questions concise and on point, and you can state your opinions and perspectives in the chat box. So without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Shishir R. Rawal as he shares his inspiring journey and valuable insights into a journey in and lessons from ecologies. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Great to be here. It is a pleasure for me to be part of this particular group of a forum, I should say, which is of a national significance, national level. And I'm here, and I'm sure there are so many people who do not know me, but there are also, I know there are many people who have known me or have in the past interacted with me to a certain extent. So without much ado, let me start with the presentation, if that is okay. Okay, so here we are. Is it visible?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. Uh,
I think we are seeing okay.
the first slide,
Yeah,
welcome.
yeah.
Thank you for joining. Yes, yes, good. Uh, Good morning, everyone in India. I'm ready to make the talk and put it in within 30 to 40 minutes. But first, the poll. So, if Rakesh could do the poll, it is a Likert scale, that is on a scale of 5. There are 5 responses. You can choose one, whichever you think is the most appropriate one. So, the first one reads Ecology is a branch of biology. Interesting. Will we get this polls later on, Prashant?
Yes, sir. We'll have
Okay,
the
thank
results.
you. Yeah, thank you. Only 13 are responding. More people should respond.
I request all the participants to kindly interact with the poll questions.
So I request everyone to participate in this poll, whether you are sure of the answer or not. You can choose neutral, you can choose whatever you want to. Prashant, we can move to the next one if there is no time, but we can spend some few minutes on this. I mean, not minutes, sorry, few more seconds. Okay, good.
Yeah, about 55 people have interacted.
Okay. So we can go to the next question or
Some people are asking to reshare the poll. I think that will cause we'll lose the result if we relaunch the poll. So, like, apologies to the participants. I can't relaunch it. Yeah. Can I end the poll, sir?
this one, this question can, yeah, because we have few more questions to go. So please go to the next one.
Let's see the first question. Ecology is a branch of biology. About 13% strongly agree, 13% disagree, 18% are neutral, 34% agree. 23% strongly agree. We have second question, we should focus on saving our home planet. About 4% are neutral, 20% agree, 76% strongly agree. Third question, ecological sciences don't include humans. 62% strongly disagree, 19% disagree, 7% are neutral, 5% agree, and 7% strongly agree. For resilient, sponsity is a great idea model. Um, about 2% strongly disagree. Neutral is 36%. Agree is 36%. Strongly agree is 26%. Culture is nature's artifact. About 5% disagree, strongly disagree. 7% disagree. 14% are neutral. 40% agree. And 33% strongly agree. The sixth question, applying concepts of ecological sciences and ethics can help address human woes. About 2% are neutral, 38% agree, 60% strongly agree. I have a sound background and expertise in ecological sciences. That's the seventh question. 5% strongly agree, 24% disagree, 48% are neutral, 17% agree, 7% strongly agree.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now we can close the poll and I'll start with the presentation. And I'm going to time myself. Okay. Can we close?
Yeah, I
Do I
closed the
close
poll.
it?
Yeah, you
Okay.
can just.
Okay. So here we are. The poll is over. And I'm glad many of you participated. Uh, Usually people do acknowledgements at the end, but I believe in making the acknowledgements why I'm here, what have brought me to this point. So for this particular talk is this guy who has been persistent, polite, and very persuasive for me to be here, and his team, Rakesh ji. I'm very much thankful to the benefits I have received of public education system in Gujarat, in Michigan, in North Carolina. These are the states in India and USA where I have been associated. And of course, my parallel and intertwined universes, my close friends, family, teachers, students, etc. The big picture, the idea that somebody somewhere is taking care of all of us, whatever we call it, God or whatever, is also there. And finally, of course, all of you are here. So thanks for your time and your participation. Uh, I'm not going to read this. I'm just going to keep it here for a few seconds. Basically, I respect everybody who is here, whether with formal degrees and or whether from any field for that matter. So with that, I'll just go ahead. So we can begin the story. The story word is very important because the narratives that we keep hearing from outside or the what we repeat within ourselves, the stories that we tell ourselves, stories, quote unquote, the sound and the conversation we have within our mind is also influenced by the sound and conversation that is coming from outside. And depending upon who we are, how we see the world, we filter those things out. Some things just connect to us and we strongly connect to it. And some other things are questionable and we doubt and we question. So, for example, more than 50% people believed that ecology is branch of biology. That is a story that has been told to us so many years. Because you go to a university or you go to a high school and there is a biology class, and there a teacher will tell you that ecology is part of biology. J. Stan Rowe, an ecologist in Canada, wrote a great article, What on Earth is Environment? And he very clearly stated that even though we began with taxonomy, that is, we identified the different species, and then we turned into and taxonomy, turned into anatomy and physiology, and then we put together, then we realized that, oh, plants are dependent upon animals as well as on soils. So the connection occurred later. So the word ecological sciences or ecology occurred to us later. But ecology includes both biology and physical environment. So in that conceptual sense, biology is part of ecology, but that is the story we keep in our head. And these are the kind of stories that we need to understand and we need to question, because here it is. It is about not the planet Earth, but our survival on planet Earth. So that is why the question was that saving our home planet Earth is a very good thing. Yeah, in a way, it is a good thing. That is the narrative. Save planet Earth is the narrative we hear. But the correct narrative is that save ourselves. Stephen Gould, a chaired professor of paleontology, biology at MIT, he is no more. But he once said that planet Earth, at her own geological timescale, didn't know we were coming, doesn't care we are here, and won't miss us when we are gone. So he says that there is for us to make a pact with the planet, and that planet, we need to look at it from a child's point of view without any kind of, we have to understand that this planet that we are part of is a wonderful ecosphere. This is, I've chosen this night view particularly because it gives an idea about how much civilization has penetrated the terrestrial ecosystems. The lights do not capture the ships on the ocean, but they do capture the cities where there is a lot of civilizational intervention on this planet Earth. This is at the global scale. You can realize the dark spots are actually not dark. They are actually, this is the Amazon forest here. This is the Congo and the tropical forests. So wherever there is civilization, there is great amount of, look at Canada, only the southern Canada edge is really littered. Large part, 90% of Canada is wilderness. So these are the kind of illustrations that help us to understand how this works, how this is happening. This is the cloudless Google Earth manipulated map, but this is important for us to know that these are the different kinds of ecoregions. These are the different kinds of landscapes that are found on this planet Earth. And we are all somewhere or the other affecting it directly or indirectly. So the question we need to ask is, are we heading where we really want to be in these uncertain times? What do we need to unlearn, relearn, or learn, and why? What we can or what we ought to do? That is also a question. By the way, I want to tell everyone that I have given a slide number. The slide number is there. So if you have any questions about any particular slide, please do refer to that slide number. If there is time, we can go back to that slide. So this is the title, A Journey in and Lessons from Ecology. Ecology is plural. Clarity and purpose in uncertain time. Because many of us are frustrated with what's going on, how to make sense of these things. The need to make sense so that we can make something predictable, so that we can work with it, is very important. And whether at your local scale, whichever city or town you may be, or at the scale of our country, India, or at the scale of our neighborhood, South Asia, or at the scale of the planet Earth. There are issues going on. Here is my email address, inmsu@archsrr. I think Trishan will share this email address later. So I welcome any queries via email also if there is if you want to make that kind of inquiry. This is the outline of the talk today. In the context is an introduction, my journey, and the global picture. That is global to regional to local picture. Contents, we need to create a new story. For that, we need to understand environment, ecology, ecological sciences in a different way. And to show that different way, I'm going to share you quickly some examples. The conclusions are actually in conclusions. I cannot make more any conclusions, but it is important for us to touch upon all these things so that we have a correct understanding to we can learn the lessons and go to the next steps. Then there are few slides, couple of slides for final thoughts, and then there'll be time for question and answer. So the first part, my journey and the global picture. So upper left hand picture where children are playing on the tree is my first memory of as a not even a teenager, pre-teenager, about adolescent, 8 or 9 years old, on the Banaras Hindu University campus at my Bua's place with my cousins. We used to, after breakfast, run toward the backyard and go to a particular tree. Even at that age, I was wondering why we are running to that particular tree and why are we beginning our play time there with that particular tree. What is the reason there? But over the years, I got some formal degrees from MSU, School of Planning and Architecture, then University of Michigan. Then I taught at NC State University, and I came back to India and taught again. So these are the bottom pictures are related to my interaction with the students. This the third one on the bottom is our involvement with Vishwamitri. We are committed to giving an alternative vision for the Vishwamitri River Development Project. The right hand one, the bottom right hand, is the ecological restoration course field trip in outskirts of Pune that I was part of. So there is a lot of things that in my journey and that my personal growth has happened like this, but on the shoulders of giants. So these are the people who actually have been instrumental in shaping my worldviews about ecology, and they are still influencing me. I'm so grateful that Professor C.K. Varshney, I had requested him to join, but he's about 90 years old. He's still alive and kicking. He still gives webinars and public talks, and he's being interviewed by television news channels and programs. He was the first teacher who gave me a formal education in 1980-81 at SPA Delhi. And he began his first lecture by asking, "What did you eat for breakfast today?" And we immediately realized that this is a trick question because he knows what is offered in the SPA mess, but he's asking us a particular question. From there and onwards to the entire semester, he gave a very nice picture of what ecology science is. I miss him, Professor M. Shahir. He was instrumental in giving many lessons. And then this giant of a person on the right hand side top, Ian McHarg, and his book Design with Nature, that influenced quite a bit, not only me, generations of people. At Michigan, when I was a student, I was fortunate enough to be in the presence of great teachers like Rachel Kaplan and Stephen Kaplan, who are pioneers in the field of environmental psychology. And this person on the left side, landscape planning, the author, William M. Marsh. Uh, he taught us the course on environmental planning, and I'm so grateful for that course. Though Design for Human Ecosystem is written by John Tillman Lyle, who was never my formal teacher, but this is an unsung book. People talk about design with nature, but I think this book, Design for Human Ecosystem, is a classic. And if you are not familiar with that book, I would highly recommend if you are interested in this kind of subject area. Land Mosaics, The Ecology of Landscapes and Regions by Richard T. T. Foreman, now a retired professor at Harvard, great contributor. This guy is not an ecologist, not a designer, but David Orr wrote this great book, The Nature of Design. And that one also is very important for the student of ecology and design to read at least once. And then these are the list of some of the courses that I have taught, and that teaching has helped me to learn more, and that I'm still doing. So this is the journey, and what has journey brought me to? First, it made me realize the issues. So these are the kind of issues that this is if the world map is redrawn, shifting of the mind, the new story. This is how the population map would look like. This is a little bit older. This was made when China was still more populous than India. But nonetheless, it tells the story. Can you recognize Russia? It is way there up there, it is squeezed out. And some other countries, Australia is squeezed out over here on the right hand side bottom. So, this is one way to understand that population is increasing and different countries have different kinds of consequences of human population increase. The direct consequence is consumption of resources. So when you have production, manufacturing, and life going on, then this is the picture of greenhouse gas emissions. This is the kind of amount of gas emissions. People really don't look at the color, look at the size. Colors are just there to distinguish one from the other. Look at how just above South Africa, the poor countries, Congo, Zaire, Botswana, these are all squeezed out. Uh, Look at the way we can understand the world if we just change the picture a little bit better. And it is not just about greenhouse gas emission, it is also about child mortality. Look at this picture. These are as I'll mention later, human ecology is also ecology, human social ecology. So these are the impacts, the way we understand the world. And these are other kinds of maps, but for example, this, and I've cited the sources. So if they are interested, I've got the whole list of sources. You can explore some of these things. Look at the way child mortality is decreasing. So South America and North America are far ahead of us. There is low child mortality there. And look at Africa and Asia, high degree of child mortality. So this was, don't ask me what is the original forest, but this is like pre-industrialization and like medieval times maybe. So this is how the forest cover was a few centuries ago. This is how it is now. And India is all brown, just touching the tropical forest of Congo and Zaire. The sub-Saharan region is all deforested. Look at the portions of South America, which are kind of brownish. All these are the changes, the remaining and the lost forest that one can understand. This is another telling graphics. We are all glued to, this is the story again. GDP is God. So the green line, and though the data is only up to 2005, this is important. The green line is increasing, right? And the brown line, the the biocapacity, that is decreasing. And this is the deficit. So there's a website called Ecological Footprint related website, and they each year they publish how much we have surpassed our balance for a given year of using the resources. A couple of years ago, it was in August. Now we have reached July. So our resources are not even going to be lasting for the whole year. So what does that mean? That this gap increases. In our pursuit for GDP, our biocapacity is uh, living planet index is the way they call it, and this is the why it is decreasing. These are the bio, biocapacity creditors versus biocapacity daters. So look at this. GDP is increasing in India. China is in the race. US is always about capitalism and all that. So we all owe to these green countries, green shade countries. They are the creditors. For them, because of them, there is still some semblance of balance in oxygen and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So this is another way to understand what is going on. Biological footprint, ecological footprint, sorry. So the good, why India is good? Because per capita, our footprint is very low. Per capita, the US and Canada footprint is very high. So this is another set of data that the the definition is ecological footprint measures the amount of land required to sustain a country's consumption. So we are still in the low end of we are in the good part. Our ecological footprint as a country is smaller than other European countries and North American. And so because of all these things, we need to put beyond map, we need to put faces and pictures. The world is facing this kind of reality. Wars, war refugees. As we speak, Antarctica and Arctic are melting. Urbanization is rapidly increasing. There is inequity in the poor and the rich, and the habitat destruction of unique species is like rampantly going on every day. Some in small way in your back street, in your front street, some tree is cut, but some other ways also this a lot of things are going on. This very presentation is having a carbon footprint. We are all tuned in when we think this is an innocent educational activity we are doing, but our activities also contribute to these things. So picture closer at home is also not very pleasant. This is the global uh, scenario of biocapacity, which is decreasing, the green line, in the ecological footprint that is increasing. This is the last 2 years, 22 and 22, 23, 24. These are like estimates, but we have already, since 1961, India has already surpassed, we are already overshooting. So we got independence from the British, but did we get independence from our mindsets that are rooted in consumption and colonized way of thinking? That is what the question is. So the continuum in India from wildlife habitat to rural area to suburban areas to urban areas. These urban areas are penetrating into suburbs, into rural, and also into the wildlands of India. That is, one should pause and think about this. That how much India has protected areas, that is national parks and other protected area categories, and that constitutes. I'm not quoting the exact number, but what I remember is about 5% of the total land. And even there, we want roads. Even there, we want access. So we really see resource management Any management is not about resource. It is about our behavior, our intentions, our dreams, whether what I decide to do is going to affect something negatively or not. That is going to be very important. We see these realities. We are aware of this. We see this every day around us in urban areas. And we lament. We vote for different reasons. We lament for different reasons. And it is time that we wake up. Uh, because uh, this part, depressive disorder and depression, these data are quite telling, because all this environmental stress also causes our mental stress, our well-being. And mental stress is related to then environment and our physical health. So these are important interconnections that we need to be aware of. Now we go to the second part quickly. We need to go to a news story, but for understanding the news story, we need to understand the basic difficulty we have with the word environment and ecology. And the systems thinking is the connecting link. I'll not give a lecture on system thinking today, but I do want to touch upon the how I have learned to understand and appreciate the difference between environment and ecology. And we'll quickly touch upon why I call it ecologies, which is similar to ecological sciences, and then a few examples. So environment is like the science faculty of any university, college of science. They will have a department of zoology, they will have a department of botany, they will have a department of XYZ. So they compartmentalize, and we can point out this is forest, this is river. Environment is what surrounds us. It is either human made environment dominated, like in cities, or a nature dominated environment, where, like in Gir National Park or any other natural areas, which are still largely untouched by human intentions. Whereas ecology is about complexity, it is about network, it is about everything together, the atmosphere, the hydrosphere, the geosphere, the biosphere, noosphere, everything. So planet Earth is not a biosphere. Biosphere is part of planet Earth, and planet Earth's another name is ecosphere. So we need to understand that ecology is about interrelationships of these components of environment. How do we look at it? But before we look at it, what I just wanted to tell you that this is the relationship. Let us start with species. Species, human species, ant, special kinds of ants, different kinds of ants. So many human species, the humans, one kind of species come together and make a population. So there is a population of elephants, there is a population of ants, there is a population of human beings, there is a population of fungi, there is a population of dolphins, you name it, right? They are all collection of particular kind of species. When many populations come together, they form communities. These are up to here, it is population and communities, it is all biology, it is all life. However, when you associate communities with a specific place or an area, it becomes ecosystems. We are, you and I are sitting in different kinds of ecosystems. Landscapes. So when many different kinds of ecosystems come together, they form landscapes. And when many landscapes come together, they form ecoregions. And ecoregions, we understand them by Arctic, tundra, semi-tropical, tropical. These are the different kinds of ecoregions. Don't call them biomes, because biome only recognize bio, the life part of it, or biosphere is part of ecosphere. So even within the even there's a bigger picture like this, that natural system and cultural system together, cultural system is all human made, human intended, human oriented. Natural system is largely nature-oriented processes, structure, function. Together, they create the experience we have every day. Everything in your current, whatever room you are sitting, the sunlight might be penetrating through the window or not. Whatever is there is because of the way natural system and cultural system come together and create a kind of experience for us. So we'll focus on natural system for today. So natural system is a caricature diagram. It is made up of layers of variables or components. And these components are interrelated from bottom to the top. But there is another interaction going on, very complex interaction that I'll explain in a minute. And next. So this is the natural systems pyramid. So structure is that part of natural system which is tangible. So because the way our planet Earth is located from a certain distance from the sun, the tilt, the revolution, and the rotation of planet Earth creates different kind of seasons in different part of the world. So climate, sun in the distance. Then the second layer is surface and subsurface earth materials, which is very important to understand. Earth materials, I'm not using the word geology, but geology is the science that help us understand earth materials, the lithosphere part of it. Climate is largely the atmosphere part of it. Because of these two interaction, the bottom two interact together to create different kinds of landforms, as illustrated in this diagram. Different kinds of landforms are within the sea also and above the sea line, sea level also. There are different landforms have different implications and different way surface and subsurface waters will behave. So climate and earth materials interact together over centuries. They create different kinds of landforms. When these three interact together, they create realities of surface and subsurface waters. They interact together, these four bottom variables, create this fifth one. This waters and soil is the interface. I'll tell you what that interface is. So when these bottom five interact together with the solar energy, which is always influencing, we get animals, fungi, microorganisms, and such. And on top of that, we think that we are the king of the hill. We are different from all these people, these other living beings. We think that we are the planet Earth is made for us. We behave that way. So if you understand this, as I have explained you, I went from how the slowly changing foundation variables of climate and earth materials create landform, how these three come together to create the surface and subsurface waters, then the soil, the vegetation, and so on. So this is what I explained to you. This goes like that, right? Up to here. But this is environment. This is what we point out. This is the natural system. When we think about cultural system, the built environment, the human-made, what we call cultural artifacts, are dependent upon this. So culture is an artifact of nature. I didn't say it. I think Emerson or Henry David Thoreau made that statement that everything that we do culturally is directly dependent on what the nature provides for that place. To explain you this, let me tell you, in India, I can use three locations name. And I think most of you are, even though you may not have visited those places, you can visualize the culture of that place and how that culture is influenced by the nature of that place. So these three places are Kashmir. Look at the food, the dresses, the houses, and look at the climate, the landform, the geology, all that. Second place, Kutch, the largest district in Gujarat. You can visualize that dry, arid region, and the culture is different. The third place, coast Kerala, especially coastal Kerala. Again, the culture changes, but culture changes in response to what natures provide, what nature provides there. So, because of the tangible structure, processes are those things that affect structure and function. Natural processes are like windstorm, rainfall, diurnal uh, sea level rise and falling during full moon or new moon. These are all the processes. These are not dependent upon who is ruling, who is the prime minister of some country or who is the president of some other country. These are governed by nature's laws. And these processes affect structure, that is a tangible, visible part of the natural system, and it affects the function. Function is the way energy, material, and information is transformed among and between. And that is where these lines come together. These lines is ecology. Ecology is the science of interrelationships among and between the bottom abiotic part and the top biotic part of the environment. Soil and water are the intermediates. So soil is neither truly inert, it has organic material, and water has microorganisms within it. So therefore, now we can understand that one can study all kinds of ecology, but I'm limiting this to cell ecology. One can study, but we'll not start with the cell, we'll start with population ecology. It is the particular population of elephant. R. Sukumar, a great ecologist in India, studied elephants. He was a population ecologist. Community ecology is the more than one population or two population. So predator-prey relationship, lions and cheetal in Gir National Park. So those are the kind of community ecologies. So they are still looking at the living organisms. Once you jump to ecosystem ecology, how a valley affects community structure, or how a hilltop affects vegetation growth, that is the ecosystem ecology. Pond is a great example. Pond is an ecosystem. So if you visualize a, a rural part of India, there is a kacha sadak, kacha road, and it has some kind of boundaries of vegetation. That is one kind of ecosystem. Just next to it, there is a barren field versus there is a field with irrigation and crop growing. Those two are different ecosystems. Just a little bit ahead, there is a farm pond, and that pond is different. It has its own abiotic and biotic environment components, and they interact with each other to create that. So when many ecosystems come together, they create landscape ecology, the study of horizontal relationships among ecosystems. Ecosystem ecology is mainly vertical interactions within an ecosystem. I'll give you an example of landscape ecology later in the examples that. Then eco-regional ecology. Eco-regional ecology is at a larger scale. But this might come across as from what we call natural sciences. No, these are not just natural sciences. We have human ecology and social ecology. How human beings, humans as a species, and how a human being as a population, and how society as a community interact with their environment, and how do they study that. What that study is human and social ecology. Restoration ecology, the ecology for restoring environment. And the applied side of that is ecological restoration, which is in United Nations decade is going on from 21 to 2030 on ecological restoration. And many countries are onto it. Conservation biology doesn't use the word ecology in it, but it is a science that is important. Uh, Biological principles and concept as applied to conservation. And that is a very important discipline that many people may not be aware of. Plus, my favorite from to understand all these things together and how it affects our mind, the discipline of environmental psychology. I was very fortunate to be a student of stalwarts at the University of Michigan when I was a student there. And now I hope you can understand what is the difference between environment and ecology and why I'm using the plural, that is ecological sciences, and the word is ecologies. That is important for us to understand. There is no one kind of ecology. North America, they have started this called Wildlands Project. I won't go into the details of it. You can Google it and get to know more. So reconnect, restore, and rewild, but at a continental scale. They are doing gap analysis of patches and corridors where natural habitats are available and where the gaps are. So where the gaps are, they collaborate with the local community to for eco-restoration. Even a small corridor of vegetation might be important. And again, because of lack of time, I will not go into the details of this. So this is at the eco-regional and landscape level kind of intervention that landscape architects, ecological planners, conservation biologists, many kinds of different expertise, even sociologists and artists are involved in this effort. So it is basically talking about this kind of thing. Where what do the species need? Food, shelter, and habitat, uh, procreation. So this is what one can study like this, where things are found and where there are likely to be new development that are going to create fragmentation in the habitat. So suburbanization is affecting it. It might penetrate this forested corridor or green corridor, which is meeting the water corridor. And then there are hills in the background that supply the upper watershed, supply the water to the downstream areas. Each city, whether it is Lucknow or Indore or you name it, Coimbatore or my hometown, Vadodara, everywhere the upper watershed and the middle watershed are developing and they affect the downstream. Here is an example where a student, when I was teaching at North Carolina State University, did a project in Ghana, a small portion, and we did thorough GIS-based landform landscape analysis, which is just a small map I'm showing on the upper left. But this one is important. This is thorough landscape analysis will give us this darker high conservation value areas, medium conservation value areas, and low conservation value areas. We use different variables. This is development potential, high development potential, medium development potential, and low development potential. So when you combine these two this way, so these are the different layers of data that we have used. Same data, similar data, but to identify development potential and to identify conservation priority, conservation area. When we combine this together, we get this overlap. And this overlap tells us how to negotiate the policies and do community participation and all that, where development potential is likely to affect the natural areas potential, natural conservation potential areas. And that is what is this kind of process that we follow as ecological planners. Uh, so the focus was on tourism related development potential. So conservation values high, medium, and low. So these are the tentative policy recommendations for tourism development in that study area. Closer at my hometown, the Vishwamitri watershed, Pavagadh Hill is here. And this is our picture, the, the dream picture of how patches and corridors along the blue lines can be developed, can be achieved so that integrity of ecological structure and the fidelity of ecological function is ensured. This is like an ideal picture. Vadodara city is depicted here by the red line. And this is at the Vadodara city level, how that similar kind of the Bukhi Nala, Bojraji Nala, all this in the corridor of Vishwamitri can be uh, studied further, and we can create a better network of open spaces and green spaces. This is an example of a national level design competition we participated in as our firm, a small firm. We are part of a consortium, and we were fulfilling the role of ecological planner and landscape architects. And it was a pleasure to work with Nimish Bhai Patel and Parul Javeri, the husband-wife architect team in Ahmedabad. Uh, Edifice is one of the largest multidisciplinary firms in India, based in Mumbai and other cities. And our firm were the partners in this design competition. So this is the map of, these are the different kind of landscape analysis maps. So this is the elevation map. So white part is the high point, and the darkest brown is the low point. And then we can see how the landform as a plan view. Uh, these are all the water gathering areas where different kinds of slopes will create wet areas in the landscape. Uh, then these are the percentage slope. How steep is the slope? So this hill here, which is the high hill here, the steepest slopes. So we consider those also. And these are the aspects of the landform, north-facing aspects, south-facing aspects. So we can understand climatologically when we put a building in south-facing aspect, how much solar energy it will gain and what kind of windows and building design details we can do be based on this kind of analysis. So then we make a comprehensive high, medium, and low suitability areas map, which is on the upper left-hand side. Then we make the landscape restoration plan or landscape enhancement plan first, and within which we then put the building footprint. So on the bottom left is an example of how IIM Udaipur program requirement were based on all this kind of analysis of fitted onto this particular site. The right-hand side portion is for the second phase of expansion, and this is just one view of our proposal. This is the project we had worked in some years, almost like 18, 20 years ago in Kenya, Wonder Valley resort. And similar kind of process we went through. We've identified high, medium, and low suitability area for development. And this is the master plan. We always offer at least two alternatives. So this is one alternative that was selected by the client. Again, there is no time to go into detail of this. This is a third project. This was also a consortium. We participated with the same firms, Panika, which is Nivish Patel, Parul Javeri in Ahmedabad, and Edifice in Bombay. And this is the analysis work, and this is our proposed uh, master plan for the IIT Jodhpur campus. So all these things, from my first experience as a child running to that tree with my cousins, to landscape, ecosphere, environment, ecology, all these things that teach us that we are all interconnected. Not only because of the internet that facilitates this meeting, but in many different ways, we are all interconnected. So the lesson is never forget that the interconnectedness is a sacred thing. The sacredness of interconnectedness is what we interfere with. And what we create are not only fragmentation in the habitats, but fragmentation in our society and in our hearts also. So that is where the lesson is value this. This is a value. This is not just a scientific concept. So interconnectedness is important. And remember this, that ecology is about this. The interconnectedness is about all these things. And that is important. That our body is also all this network of blood circulation that is part of the human body and how we are all connected to other bodies. Recent research has talked about how from the root system, microorganisms and root system and all these things together help survive trees and vegetation and all kinds of flora and fauna in the forests. So sustainability this is another story that we are gulping. We think that sustainability is about equal portion equity, societal equity, economy, and environment. And we all clap. Yes, this is what sustainability is. But please pause and think, is it sustainability? Is something more important here than the other? GDP is the most important thing. And we saw in this small, short presentation the impacts of I didn't have to show you the slides. We all have experienced those stresses, those pollutions, those misery in refugee camps, and the GDP going to military budgets. All those things are going on there. But ultimately, our survival is not based on this kind of model. So, sustainability is not sustainable. The second law of thermodynamics doesn't allow us to be sustainable. Sustainable is good. Sustainability is good as a heuristic, as an instigation to achieve something towards in that direction. But ultimately, even a soap that you put near a wash basin and you wash, you can use it frugally and make it last longer. All Indian families do that. That is sustainable behavior. It is not the resource, it is what we do with the resource. That is what is important. So, the correct way to put it is like this, that economy is a subset of society. Economy is not something a gill lion is worried about. Economy is a human construct. So, it is a subset of the society. But economy and society both are subset of the environment. And this is how we need to understand it so that we can begin to correctly view the priorities. The priority is the environment. If the environment is there, the society is going to be there. And if the society is there, human society, I mean, the economy is going to likely to work out. So here is what I'm proposing as
Just a
an
minute, sir.
ending parting thought.
Sorry for the interruption. I'd just like to inform the audience that we'll be overshooting the timeline we have. Kindly stay tuned. I request sir not to cut off any
No,
point.
it is about to get finished. I'm
No,
not
no,
going to
please,
talk about.
please do not skip anything. Please go on.
I'm not going to skip anything. I'm just going to
Yes.
talk about ecological self, ecological address just verbally because I couldn't find I didn't have time to find appropriate slides. So this slide is important and this is from our Indian culture. This is not about Hinduism or any religion. So we call truth Satyam. But what is Satyam from a scientific point of view? Satyam is the laws of nature. They are timeless, placeless, they do not change. Water will travel downhill. It doesn't matter which century you're talking about. It doesn't matter which country you're talking about. It doesn't matter what kind of governance system it has. Water will travel downhill. And on steep slope, it will travel faster. On a milder slope, it will travel slowly. That is Satyam, natural laws, laws of nature. The Shivam part is the society part. How much well being, how much goodness we have in us, and how much goodness we are able to share. Even this diagram, I'll put it differently, but again, I didn't have the time. And because of these two, Satyam and Shivam, the natural system and the cultural system, we get the experiential quality. And Sundaram is not beauty only. Sundaram is the aesthetic experience, the aha that we get. Sundaram is where we don't think about the forest or the great scene that we see in the Himalayas or in the Western Ghats or along the coast of Orissa or wherever. Sundaram is where we think of the creator, not the creation, the aesthetic experience that we get. And we kind of become speechless, we kind of zone out. So there is a great song, old song of Mukesh that is one of my favorite ones, which goes like, "Ye kaun chitrakar hai, ye kaun chitrakar." This song captures what Sundaram is. And this is what we need to be, bigger picture wise, we need to be worried about. That are we following the laws of nature? Are we doing something good for the other human beings, society? Are our decisions going to result in greater aesthetic experience? So this is a quote from one of my favorite books, John Tillman Lyle. If all goes well, if our models are correct, our design work as it should, and if the management is both imaginative and sound, then human and natural process will merge indistinguishably into an organic whole, the human ecosystem in the best sense of the term. That, hard as it may be to achieve, is the ideal. Before I move to the last slide, let me just talk very briefly, very quickly about ecological self, ecological address, and ecological action. Joanna Massey is a great nature philosopher, and she gave the concept of ecological self. So, this skin inside this is Shishir, right? You see this Shishir here. The space is my room. This is not Shishir. My family is sleeping in the other room here because it is whatever it is in the US. So the self, me, Shishir, my identity, my image, then I extend that to what? Then I extend that to, oh, my family, then my extended family, then my neighborhood. That is Shishir. Shishir is recognized. Shishir is known in Pratapganj. Shishir is known in Vadodara. Oh my gosh, my identity is now increased to Baroda. Then I go and say that, oh, I have been to secretariat in Gandhinagar and I've met the chief minister, or I do this and I do that, and Rajkot and Jamnagar or Vapi. Oh, so my identity is Gujarati and I'm Gujarati kind of person. Oh, no, 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 but how can I be only Gujarati? I'm Indian. So my identity is this national. So how much do you go through them? Okay, then I say, oh no, my identity is also US person because I've spent many years here. So this is all about me, 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 me. So if you look at that diagram of ecological natural system pyramid, you can identify from climate that my ecological address is, my ecological self and address is associated with subtropical climate, the landform resulting from Pavagadh Hill, Vishwamitra River watershed, within which Bukinala watershed, which is a tributary of Vishwamitri. Now I am identifying with that particular banyan tree or that particular imli tree or that particular neem tree. oh, I'm part of that ecosystem. I'm part of soil, different kinds of soil, different kind of vegetation. These are different ways to identify my addresses. And my friends, my dear fellow Indians and other citizens, we are citizens of planet Earth. But as the author of Land Mosaic, Richard T.T. Foreman, once famously said, think globally, plan regionally, and act locally. So that is why this statement is important. That if we understand that our self is not just our identity of our country or our family, our identity is up to this planet Earth, the ecological self, how we relate with the other abiotic and abiotic components, non-human part of the ecosphere. So this is what is important. And the action, as I said, should be related to Sundaram, Satyam, and Shivam. And I give you the examples of how this can be achieved, how this can be sensitively, creatively achieved. So this is what the wisdom of our Upanishad, Tam Soma Jyotirgamay, lead us from untruth to truth, lead us from darkness to light, lead us from death to life. That's it. Thank you. Now the time is for questions, comments, or whatever else Trishan wishes to do.
Thank you so much, sir. That was an absolutely amazing PPT, extremely insightful, and helps us, I think, get a little more sensitive towards our causes. Uh, Before we move on to the Q&A, I'd like to address the audience. I'd like to ask them to participate in a poll for about a minute's time. This is to curate the topics that we bring to you. And a big thank you to everyone here today. Your presence and participation means a lot, and it makes this webinar a success. While you fill out the poll, I'd like to extend my heartfelt thanks to our esteemed speaker, Dr. Shishir R. Rawal, for sharing his valuable time and insights with us.
Somebody is raising the question.
Yes, sure. Just a moment. Just a moment.
Hello, everyone.
Just a moment, sir.
Sure.
We'll just move on to the Q&A right after the poll questions. I request everyone to kindly quickly interact with the poll so that we can move on to the Q&A.
The poll isn't working.
It's not?
No.
It's working for the participants.
Oh.
Just for hosts.
Okay, got it. Tushar, you can continue.
Yeah, while we before we move on to the Q&A, I'd like to also mention about the upcoming talks that we are going to have. We were supposed to have a session on 26th by Mr. PG Bhatt on bridging the gap, teaching Gen Z with heart, humor, and hands-on approaches. PG Bhatt is a professor at RVU, and he was supposed to talk on 26th, but the session has been moved on to the 2nd of August 2025. We'll be updating you about the next week's session by Monday EOT. We have Safe Soil by Sneha Kopula, lead project coordinator, Aranya Agriculture Alternatives. She's going to be speaking on Safe Soil. That's on 16th August 2025. We're going to be sharing the registration links onto our social media, onto our platform, vishwa.org. Kindly stay tuned, and we'll also share the links in the next session. I'd like to now invite Vishwa's founder, Shrivani Mulapudi, to continue the session, continue the Q&A.
Namaste. Shishiji, it was a wonderful talk. I mean, being an Indian, at my age, I wasn't very clear about Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. And at this age, you have made it in a very simplified way, you've made me understand. And the topic you're talking is extremely urgent for our Mother Earth, for our humans. The talk we are having should have reached every single human in our society. At Vishwa, we're trying our best to bring in that awareness. Once again, thank you so much. And thank you to each of the participants who's here. It's wonderful that you're participating in this talk. It means that there is some amount of awareness that each of you have. And what I would like to share is, please share about Vishwa Talks to your friends and family and your acquaintances and your people of influence. Because of various marketing constraints that we have, we cannot reach more people. But these topics are not normal topics. These topics are the need for today. And I request each of you to share with as many as people the talks. Thank you once again to each of you for being a part of this session. Thank you, Trishant. Wonderful work you're doing in spite of all your traveling.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and with this, we will move on to our question and answer. Shmuel seems to be in a hurry, so Shmuel, yes, please ask your question.
Yeah, you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Very insightful and interesting presentation. I too very interested in topic of ecology, and I want to ask you a question. How, according to your opinion, protection, ecology, protection, nature can support resolution problems of poverty, social inequality, and improvement social and economic well-being.
But I'll rephrase the question for you.
Please do.
Uh, how do you think protection of ecology and protection of nature can solve problems of poverty and social change, create a social impact?
Right. This is a very pertinent question because throughout history of human civilization, especially post-industrialization, people have understood development of human society and environment as opposing forces. That if we increase GDP, we have to make nature suffer. And that is the essence and beauty of my discipline of ecological planning, ecological restoration, and landscape architecture, where we, what I showed you as examples, we understand the needs and the preferences and the values of people from whom we are designing, and not only the site, but the context in which. So, for example, in the Jodhpur site, we had surrounding farmers were part of the policy decision of the IIT Jodhpur campus, where their livelihood, their hedgerows of their farm outside the property boundary of IIT, these are both connected. Natural system is connected and socio-economic system is connected. It is not outside the IIT campus boundary, we do not care for you. So even in our involvement with the Vishwamitri project or some other projects that we are part of, the livelihood is totally dependent upon the health of the environment. And it is an uphill battle. So I remember a project we did with a multinational corporation just outside Vadodara for a SEZ. And whatever development in that 400 acres, it was going to affect the downstream people. So ecological planning is not just about ecology. It is planning for human welfare, human beings also. I can get into the details of it and make a different kind of presentation because there is a lot written about it. The summary, in just summary, what I would say is that these are not opposing objectives. These are complementary objectives. And with science, with people participation, we can create a more holistic, more responsive and desirable outcome for nature, for human society, and for the experience that we get from it.
Can I add to
Yes,
this? Yeah, can I add to
thank
this?
you very much.
Shmel, can I add to this?
Yeah.
The concept, as Mr. Sishir has already told us, the concept of well-being, the concept of wealth is a Western concept. It's not an Indian concept. The Indian concept of wealth is Ashtalakshmi. It's just not money and GDP. It's about well-being on all levels: food, mental health well-being, family, society. India by nature culturally had all this. Due to colonization, due to aping the West, we're running after money and GDP rather than protecting what we already had. While most people in India are farmers, most people have 1 to 2 acres of land holdings. Today, we're going into monoculture, and we're going into cropping systems which have made Indians lose nutrition. Previously, in a village, a child was given 360 degrees nutrition because of the different kinds of trees. So we had an ecosystem in our rural villages, which protected that culture, that system. This conversation is not only to Shmel, this conversation is to all the speakers. So we are losing that at a very fast pace because we have not corrected our thought process about what is wealth and what is Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. If we correct it, India, if it goes back to its old culture, I'm sure there wouldn't be anybody called underprivileged. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I want to ask another short question. I want to ask what government and authorities of India do for effective protection of ecologies.
Apologies. Can you repeat the question once again, sir?
Or can one of you paraphrase it, please?
What is the government doing
Yeah.
to protect ecologies?
Okay. Oh man. As from the government structure, Ministry of Forest Environment and Climate Change at the central government level, to town planning schemes that are adopted for the city and villages. The tragedy, according to my experience in India, is that we never follow landforms. We do not understand contours. We do not know what water gathering slope is. So there are rules, there are acts, there are Supreme Court and National Green Tribunal directives asking the different levels of governments to do the right thing. And it is always a political kind of struggle that we have to use three-prong approach. And that when the government is not doing something, awareness, which is what Vishwa Talks kind of organizations and forum provide. Advocacy. Soft advocacy is working with the system. Hard advocacy is working through the legal system. And finally, providing alternatives. That is what people like we do. So government of India, state governments, local governments, they all are not bad people. They are good people. They are just like us. There is no them. It is just that in the context in which they operate, their priorities are different. It is not they don't understand value of nature. If you ask them in a friendly manner on a morning walk, do you like nature? They'll say, of course I like nature. But after 11 a.m., when she or he is in the office, she takes the hard decision. And always the economic considerations win. So if you are interested what the government is doing, I can give you a few references later on.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So there are a lot of acknowledgements from Ujjan Josh. The value of this talk lies in the way it has been put forward, well structured, simply and with priorities highlighted. This for Padmanabhan Krishna had said, excellent bird's eye view of the entire field. Mr. Silas VP has said, excellent class, very informative one. Many complex concepts are very well explained and suitable examples. Thank you, sir. So one question is from Shruti. Due to the ecological destruction, livelihoods in rural areas of Uttarakhand are being affected, especially agriculture. More people prefer to leave now. How can we save the essence of villages now? Is sustainable development in Himalayas, rural areas actually possible?
First and foremost, don't get caught up by the jargons. Sustainable development is a jargon. We neither understand development nor we understand what sustainability is. So yes, what you are asking is a very pertinent question because it is related to life and livelihood. And life and livelihood, and it is not just Uttarakhand, it is every state in India, every district in India is facing a similar struggle between economic well-being so that even environmental well-being is also achieved. So what I recommend is what I can do right now. But what we need is the kind of the Ghana plan that I showed you, the Ghana project plan that I showed you, where we map out so first of all, what we should do is that we should have districts and taluka, whatever we have. But on top of that, we should have watershed and sub-watershed. New Zealand adopted governance based on sub-watersheds. So instead of calling my district district of Vadodara in state of Gujarat, if I call it my district as district of Vishwamitri, the watershed of Vishwamitri River, and the taluk, the subset of that is Bukhinala watershed, Surya River watershed. If these are the sub-watersheds are the administrative boundaries. And then we do this conservation area priority, development area priority, overlap them, and wherever there are likely to be conflicts. So there are good planning processes available, and there are also good tools available to implement those plans. So for example, conservation easement. Conservation easement is a tool where a farmer can retain the corridor as natural, that stream that might be passing through her or his property, so that it is the value of that conservation corridor is important. The government finds a way to pay for that. And that is done through something called uh, develop, transfer of development rights, TDR, which are kind of experimented with in some cities in India, especially Mumbai. So wherever we find conservation areas, so in Uttarakhand or wherever it is, if we can map those things out and then use different growth management strategies and tools to achieve that. And I used to teach this subject called landscape resource management and planning for a whole semester for many years here at NC State. So, I mean, it is doable. It can be achieved. So there are tools and processes available, and we need to understand that our collaborative effort. You need to talk with your neighbors about climate change, about livelihood difficulties, and create a force, organize yourself, and make a representation. Show them examples. This can be done, and this is what, when we can achieve that, becomes a win-win situation.
Fantastic direction, sir. From Abha Sharma, thanks for this refreshing talk. Ecologists are always down to earth, working with the basic building block. But do you think other essential objects or entities that we have made, like plastic, aluminium, air conditioners, have any role to play in ecological systems? Will we have to give them all up to live a sustainable life?
The transition is going to be very difficult. This is a good question because it is pointing to an aspect of our habitual way of living and our desire to become more ecologically conscious. So, if this is the same Abha Sharma that I know from Delhi, then she also is an architect. I do not know which Abha Sharma is this. But designing buildings as a climate, see, for buildings, comfort is important, but also the ecological footprint is important. So when I used to teach architecture students a course called climatology, which is actually a misnomer, should be called applied climatology to buildings. So how do we achieve comfort through passive measures, through better designs? So for example, if you look at any apartment building, say there are 4 flats per floor. So what the architect does is that he makes one plan and then mirror 4 similar. But these are all in 4 different directions, orientation, south, east, west, north. But all flats will have same window, same thing, same thing, same thing, same thing. So some houses will get very hot in summer, some houses will get very cold in winter. So these are few things. Comfort is important, but how to achieve that comfort at the regional level, at the city level, at the street neighborhood level, and the building level, site level. We can work on those things. See, where there is a will, there is a way. If we understand that what we value, then we find a way to achieve that value. But it requires patience, perseverance, and a degree of commitment and courage. Without that, this is Monday morning kind of analysis of the 2020 was played yesterday evening.
Excellent, excellent. Sir, Vasant, my Dr. Mr. Vasant, please unmute and ask your question. Need to be precise and short.
Yes, ma'am. I
Say.
understand. Sir, excellent presentation. I was a little late in joining. Forgive me. But one thing I understood, your Satyam Shivam Sundaram, wonderful. And Shivani you also elaborated on that. And all of you are doing well. My question is, we are all born out of dust and our body becomes dust when we die, and we do not carry anything with us for which we have used and misused the resources on earth, the abode of Homo sapiens and birds, beasts, flora and fauna. Still, why are we destroying each other, sir?
Your
Very
question
inconvenient
is
question.
something. Your question is something. Looking at you, sir. Your question is something that I would like you to answer because it becomes a philosophical question. I'm not talking a religious question. It becomes a philosophical question. My short answer is because of 2 forces: arrogance and ignorance. We think that we are the only species, or the other way around, that planet Earth is created for human consumption, which it is not. But our education, our religion, at least majority of established organized religions teach us that human being is the best creation of whatever God you believe in. So we think that, oh, and look at the benevolence of the God. God has provided for everything you need on this planet. And the shift happened as the book by Yuval Noah Harari talks about in his Sapiens book. The shift, and there's another great book I would highly recommend if you are not familiar with it. It is called Ishmael, Ishmael, Ishmael by Daniel Quinn. The subtitle of the book, Ishmael, is An Adventure in Mind and Spirit. It is a fiction book, but it talks about in great depth. And the switch happened when we discovered that plant can grow and we can create food in one place. And as soon as that system got established, we needed storage spaces. We began to define my versus yours. Therefore, fortified cities were created, kings were created. The current understanding of the caste system and hierarchy was created. So, when we understand what caused our shift in our contemporary conventional thinking, we can then begin to walk back to our original self, original societal concepts. So, if we remove these two big forces, our arrogance that we are the best creature and the planet Earth is made for us, and the ignorance that we always show and repent later on. And if we can address these two things with whatever spiritual practice that one is engaged with, then I think the change will happen from within first, and it will get reflected in the actions that we take without outside us.
Right, sir. Highly philosophical, but most of it depends upon materialistic feelings. But you mentioned about God, sir. None of us have seen, and we won't see also. But God was a bad mechanic or a manufacturer because he never created a human being that works for even 100 years. If that was the case, things we all would have believed the God. I don't know. I'm going too much, I think. Sorry.
But we can have another session with you and me and few others. It's a panel discussion of Vishwa talks and sort this out a little bit better. But today the time is limited, sir. So we'll need to move on to the next question. Thank you so much for asking me that question.
I think God has to balance
Shivani?
between all of us. So I think he's doing that.
Thank you.
No, but man is not balancing everything. He's destroying on the one side
No,
and
no.
he's trying to protect himself. Anyway,
No.
thank you so much, Vishwa. Shivani ji, Trishan, great. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
This question is from Ketan Tatu. Is concretization of riverbanks, especially Sabarmati in Ahmedabad for riverfront projects, a wise approach? People defend it by saying that it reduces flood events in the cities, create great community
ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಹೋಯ್ತಾ ಇದೆ
activity, opportunities, and bring in beautification. Yeah.
I know for a fact that Ketanji is asking this question for the benefit of the larger audience. He himself has a PhD in ecology. He is a good colleague and friend of mine. I'm very honored that he's here today to listen to go through my presentation. See, the riverfront development is not a new idea. If it were a new idea, then we wouldn't have Godavari riverfront in Nashik or Varanasi Wood Ganga front. Those were made for at a different era in different stage in life. Currently, I always try to tell and try to bring out from the students what do they value. Design for the values first. It doesn't mean that we cannot value economic growth. We can value that too. But as the diagram said, economy is a subset of community, and community and economy are subsets of environment or the natural system. So, speaking of Sabarmati riverfront development, it was devised not for the river, but for the economic development and image of the city of Ahmedabad. Many of us already know that the water that we see in the riverfront development is imported from Narmada Canal. That water comes from the Sardar Sarovar Dam, about 250 kilometers or 200 kilometers away from Ahmedabad. So, yes, if you have values that say that we'll reclaim part of the dry bed of bank of Vishwamitra or the Sabarmati River, we'll reclaim it by putting soil, and they've done diaphragm walls. First wall of RCC at the water level, and then at the promenade level, another wall. These are 8 to 12-meter long, high walls. Imagine the amount of concrete that is used, the amount of, and it has displaced many things. So concretization is, or the riverfront development as we understand that now, as it is defined by that one particular firm, which is stamping that model in other cities also. So that shows the value of that firm, the values that they believe, and the way they want to cater to the power that be. They are also environmental planners. They also know environmental sciences, but they choose not to put as much emphasis on that. So when that model came to Vadodara, which is a whole another story, we, a few dozen, 1 dozen people or so, we came together and we protested. And that was missing from Ahmedabad. Ahmedabad is a very good city in terms of its institutions, its kind of way of promoting education and all that. We have NID there, we have IIM there. But when it comes to coming together, organizing, and fighting against the system, both through soft advocacy and hard advocacy, my experience of last 30 years in this kind of activities tells me that Ahmedabad doesn't have that in it anymore. They cater to the power. As a society, I'm not talking about few individuals. Few individuals are very courageous people. Ketan Tatu is one of them. But the point is, we came together in Vadodara. We went to National Green Tribunal. We won the case. And in Water Alternatives, there is an international research journal called Water Alternatives. An article by my friend and colleague Neha Sarwate and me, co-authored together, has come out on this whole story of people's intercession in this process. So that will give a good idea about how people coming together can make a difference and we stop that famous firm and a so-called dream project of whatever power that be. And we are still fighting it, and we are still working with creating alternatives or convincing them to not do certain things, but it is an uphill battle. But never give up. Patience, perseverance, and commitment are necessary.
Fantastic, sir. This thought process is much needed across the country, or rather the entire society, especially we in India with so many brilliant people like you. We need to get together, and your thought process is in directing and creating awareness is fantastic. Another question, again, it might be a repetition, but from Akash Babu, we're causing great harm to ecology from our vantage point. How can we be part of a sustainable, scalable solution for impact?
Right. And that is what my examples were trying to do. So let us start with one individual. Our system requires that development requires some kind of ownership. So we have property card, we have maps that say that this whatever is belonging owned by this particular person. So that is a small patch in the larger system. So when you look at that patch and say that, oh, ये तो मेरी property, I can do anything on this. Yes, and that is what the models are showing all around. So before a plot, the plot is part of a larger other context. That other context is part of other context. So the plot is part of a local ecosystem. The local ecosystem is part of a regional landscape, and so on. And once we find the pattern of patches and corridors, the way I try to explain through the map of Vishwamitra watershed and Vadodara city, if we know that these are important things for our survival, whether it is IIM campus, a dry arid region in Jodhpur, or whether it is a project in heavy rainfall area, we can continue to do something so that whatever word we use, sustainable or more much, I use the word more mature approach. Maturity is when we understand the pain of the other, empathize, and act accordingly. So ecological sciences teach us to do that. That is why Satyam, Shivam, and the resulting Sundaram.
Mr. Prasad, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yeah, very good morning. Shishirji, in this universal interconnectedness of beings, which you have so well explained, I think we all feel fortunate to connect with you today, thanks to Vishwa Talks. Like they say, the time has to come, and today we all feel lucky to be with you, sir. Very enlightening, and you are so resourceful, so experienced. And in fact, I am quite overwhelmed. There's a lot of things which I would like to certainly be in
Be short,
touch
sir.
with
You
you.
have
I will
30
take, I
seconds.
will,
Sir,
yeah, I
30
will take it.
seconds.
We'll take it offline. But I would just like to name a few projects, and maybe you can. When you're talking about the watershed development project and all, there was one project in Telangana. It's called the Four Water Concept by of Mr. Hanumantrao, former irrigation expert, which has been successfully implemented. And I think even I came to know one recently. So I don't know if you heard about it, but we'll connect about that. And such projects are required in the country rather than we should obviate the need for going for big dams and other things. We could go for it is a question of how you best to take advantage of the, like you said, the contours and take advantage of the landscape by putting up some nice what you call culverts and
What's your
small
question? What's your
partitions.
question?
So that is, yeah. So is it possible to have those kind of projects rather than going for such capital intensive projects? Is it possible because now development has taken place? Do we have that advantage of taking care of the taking leveraging the geography around us? Number one. Number two, do we have hope for reviving the great heritage for like our Kolleru wetlands in Andhra Pradesh? My roots are from there. So I'm very sorry to note that this Kolleru, which is the largest wetlands in Asia, has depleted and shrunk. Do you think we can still do something about such projects? Well, the
Sure.
government of Telangana is having very ambitious plans for Musi river development. When we have failed on those fronts, do you really see some positive? Can we turn around? Do you think we can? Maybe I'll connect with you to on offline, but maybe you can just give your opinion here.
Very
Okay.
shortly, the big project is the centralization of power and management. So there is a there is a different approach which is called decentralization. So
Yeah.
if you do small check dams throughout the watershed, smaller one, just for that it serves local needs only. And we need to come out of the mindset that we have to store every drop of water for human consumption. No, we have something called in science called e-flow or ecological/environmental flow that is necessary for the survival of the functions of a stream or a wetland. So we have to calculate all these things in a given watershed, how much of rainfall is falling and how much of runoff is happening from different kinds of surfaces, how much is going under the ground, how much is flowing. And carefully we can design areas where we need roads, areas where we need some kind of factories, areas where we might need certain kind of housing. All those things are necessary, but they can be done a little bit more proactively and with more awareness about the natural system variables that I talked about. And therefore, ideally, it is like talk. But then I talk that I also emphasize the human ecology and social ecology side of it. People like you and me get frustrated with the government system because the government system knows how to frustrate us. And even though we can go to the courts and get the ruling in our favor, it takes tremendous amount of effort for government to implement those orders. And this is the sad reality of our current democracy. And therefore, the change will have to come from the education point of view. The way we teach our children ethics, the way we teach our children what is right and what is wrong. In my time when I was at school, there was a course subject called moral science or Jivan Kala. That is removed from the curriculum because we are creating new slaves for multinational corporations. So we cannot keep the same system running and expect it to behave differently. So until we change ourselves, our children's education, and the way we elect government or leaders, all those things are interconnected. So we cannot do everything. So choose one aspect and be at it and collaborate with other people who are doing something else. And gradually, technological changes have short wavelengths. This is cell phone is like outdated in 6 months. Social change work in the long waves. And this do not match. Economic development priorities are 5-year term of a chief minister, 5-year term of a prime minister. The bureaucrats keep on changing. So all these realities, that is why I use the word the subtitle of my talk is as important. To have purpose and clarity in the uncertain time. That's why the subtitle is that. And we need to learn and teach or get training even at whatever age we are. If we are restless inside for the right cause, then we'll act. And we will act. So Shivaniji is acting, Prashant is acting because they have found the right cause. They believe that spreading this kind of a variety of knowledge areas, subjects, is important for contributing to the society to make India better. So Vishwa Talk is an example of that kind of commitment. And we need to find our commitment for that wetland that you value or that tree that is important. And India is an enigmatic place. There is no quick solution. We have to be at it. Lage raho munna bhai.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it's a very big topic, and yeah, I got it. So maybe some turnaround can happen only if we have the will, like we say, and everybody comes together. I think there's one
Some
small question. Yeah.
small demonstration can help. We do not have to really fight with the government. We can just say that, can we, Mr. Commissioner, Mr. Collector, or Miss Collector, can we think like this? And we should present that as their idea, not our idea. This will happen under your duration. This is how I won.
Sir, just one minute, sir. I'm just interrupting you for my point was
No, go ahead.
already see there's so much of damage has happened, so much of I would say ecological disasters have taken place. So is it too late to what you call reverse all these things? Was my question, because it's definitely it's not a simple thing. It's vast wetlands which involves the involvement of communities. The geography has to be seen properly studied, and engineering, like you said, design has to be made. Is it possible to undo the damage? Was what I was lamenting about. That was basically my question.
Affirmative.
Yeah.
And why? Because ecological planning is a proactive measure that before you develop, follow the ecological sciences, ecologies, and do a proper planning and development. But there is another discipline of which I'm a student. It's called ecological restoration,
Oh, yeah.
which
Yeah.
is looking after the damaged landscapes, the damaged ecosystems. And this is the United Nations Decade of Ecological Restoration. So at the United Nations level, there are a couple of organizations, few activists, few scientists and lay people are at it. Uh, uh, I can give you the names. One is Ecological Restoration, ERA, Ecological Restoration Association in India. Junglescapes. Junglescapes is based in Bengaluru or in Chennai. I am not too sure. But they are doing a lot of work in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka in restoring forests, all the lantana that is going on. So forest is one kind of ecosystem. We can talk about wetlands. Professor Dr. Ketan Tatu is a nationally renowned wetland ecologist who asked me that question about Sabarmati. He and his friends are scattered throughout the world, but especially in India. So we have knowledgeable, committed people who are committed to wetlands per se. And if we can bring them together,
Okay.
we can take the small step forward.
I think you should be part of. I think you should be part of the such exercise, sir. Sir, one is chat box. Just
Prasad
taking
Gar, I
a
want
leaf.
to ask,
No,
answer
no, no.
one. Prasad Gar, I want to add.
Yeah. Sure.
You're
Sorry.
from Eluru?
Yes.
Okay.
There is a bond.
Yes. So each of us should attach ourselves to a cause. And the Koleru Lake is a cause worthy of fighting.
Yes.
Miru, if
Thank
you
you.
know, all of us cannot change everything. But if each of us can take up one area, like Vishwa Talks has picked up the area of awareness. If you can pick up the area of Koleru Lake, as Shishir Sir said, there are multiple organizations which can support you on how it can be restored. Vishwa Talks can support you with social media on bringing in awareness among that society.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Put your life for the next 10 years on Koleru. Work on it. Focus on it. Instead of 10 items, focus on one item.
Okay. Thank you so much. It's quite elating to hear that, ma'am. Only in the chat box, I sir has mentioned something very interesting. Sir, you were saying that soil and water. My question I put in chat box was soil and water bodies. Are they biotic or abiotic according to you? You mentioned somewhere in the conversation. That's why.
Both. See, the soil as it developed in a natural process was inert. Inert in the sense just chemicals and materials. Over the centuries, climate factors acted upon it and they created the rudimentary vegetation. And now what we see is not an inert soil, except in some really rare geographic areas where there is no vegetation mixed with the soil. So the soil is both abiotic, just as a chemical physical entity, but also a biotic because there are so many microorganisms living within a teaspoon of soil, rich soil. So in that sense, they are the medium through which the pure biotic sustain themselves. So the first vegetation and then what we call fauna, fungus, microorganisms included. So water also has microorganisms. So in that sense, a distilled water may also have certain kind of minute microorganisms and nowadays plastics. So, I mean, that is why I said, see the three bottom ones, climate, earth material, and landform are largely purely abiotic. So abiotic is the foundation for the biotic. You cannot have biotic without abiotic. We cannot have non-biotic components of the environment interacting with each other to create the medium through which life happens.
Okay. Next question.
So biodiversity is the main term that I request you to use now. That don't focus on just biotic diversity, we should work on abiotic diversity. Abiotic diversity is the physical diversity of the place, the landform, the water, ways, and the surface materials and the subsurface materials. Those, when they are destroyed, the biodiversity suffers. When they are destroyed, then the ecosystem services suffer. So we should have a biodiversity board, not only biodiversity board in India.
Got it. This is again a question from Mr. Ketan Tatu. Are the roots of ecological chaos in today's world lie predominantly in man's psychological insecurities that compel him for super fast economic and technological development?
No, no. It is easy to kind of disconnect ourselves and say that I'm not saying no to his basic premise. What I'm saying no to is the story that we have been told. That's why I use the word story. We, our species, we can talk about our primary psychological need are two: psychological, not social, not socio-psychological, but psychological. One, Ketan Tatuji knows Gujarati, but Shivani ji, do you know Gujarati?
No, I think he's definitely asked that question for the audience to know. So you must speak in English.
Yeah, I know, but I'm trying
I
to make
don't
a point.
understand Gujarati.
No,
I don't.
no, that's fine. So those people who do not understand Gujarati, અને હવે હું જે કંઈ પણ બોલું તો ગુજરાતીમાં બોલીશ તો then it won't make sense. And once it doesn't make sense, we get frustrated. If you start talking in Telugu, it won't make sense to me because I don't understand that. So making sense is a primary psychological need. The second most important need that is to get involved, to be engaged with something. If we feel neglected, if we feel that we do not belong, if we move in an environment where we think that, oh, this is so boring, I don't want to go for a stroll. So we don't engage, whether it is through environment or societal organization and values. So making sense and involvement are not my words. These are I learned from environmental psychology, my teachers, Rachel Kaplan and Stephen Kaplan. And their book, Cognition and Environment, is a great book for beginners. So,
what's the author's name, sir? What is the author's name?
Kaplan, Kaplan. Kaplan is the last name. Rachel, Rachel. They have written 4 or 5 books. The first one is called Humanscapes. It is a collection of essays, Humanscapes. The second book is called Cognition and Environment. And the third book is called The Experience of Nature. And the fourth book is called With People in Mind.
Keep people
so these are the With People in Mind. I'll repeat those names: Humanscapes, Cognition and Environment, Experience of Nature, and With People in Mind. With People in Mind is especially for designers. How one can apply environmental psychological principles and concepts to design better spaces. So my practice is not just about ecology, it is also about environmental psychology, application of human ecology into planning, decision making.
Mr. Mayur, please.
Oh, Ketanji, I think I have not answered your question, but the short answer is that these insecurities result because of this psychological need we have, that it doesn't make sense and we are not involved. And that then converts into a reaction which is in a way counterproductive for our own self as well as for the society or organization we are part of.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Mayur Shah from Vadodara, and I am a technology solution enthusiast. My question is more on technology and, of course, environment friendly, which I am always focused on it. how far you see green buildings technology helps our landscapes and the change? Because when we see the countries like Germany, China, and other overseas countries, they are opting this to support net zero, as well as the support the climate change and ecology. So please let me know your insight on this.
I share your interest, and I also share the degree of uncertainty or dissonance that you are feeling about the way we are progressing. See, human beings are made to innovate, but innovation has two aspects: novelty and appropriateness. If we remove one of these two things, it is not an innovation. But defining what is appropriate is based on values. Novelty one can create. Disney World is a novelty thing. When you meet 6 foot tall Mickey Mouse shaking hand with your child, that is like wow experience. So innovation wise, in terms of building materials, nowadays, as you perhaps know already, I mean, I'm sure you know, we have innovated with different materials. So lightweight brick, the different kind of fly ash mixed kind of bricks and construction blocks that we are making. Netherlands and other European countries have also made bricks where we can grow fungus, or we can no moss, not fungus. We can grow moss. So it is supporting a micro level, micro habitat level values and certain advantages in terms of comfort and all that. So appropriateness and innovation, novelty, both are making the innovation. However, when we think about a new innovation, we have to think about, I want this because we have this because, right? Because the conventional RCC is bad for the environment, because the brick kilns are kind of creating local pollution. All this because this lead to a desire to create a solution. This is where we should not end. There is another side of it. This is the possible solution A, possible solution B, possible solution C. And now let me look at the therefore of it, the consequences of solution A, B, and C. We have to understand the consequences. So, for example, we create paver blocks out of plastic waste, right? And everybody I know, and I also to a certain degree accept that there is some better cycling of plastic waste. And we stopped at the solution. We implemented that. Science and Shivam, Satyam and Shivam both require us that we understand the consequences of that. Not today, but 10 years, 100 years from today.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the part that is missing in innovations.
Yeah,
it does. And therefore, we are very weak in getting enamored by innovation. Oh, wow, let us do that. Only when we can create an alternative material with a renewable resource without compromising the food production and other things, I can go with this idea of innovations for building materials and designs. So there is a new thing that has come out and it is like by everybody. Collect to have drinking water in dry arid regions through atmosphere. And everybody is uploading because it is like solving the drinking water problem in the arid region, poor people. So we need this because, and this is the solution. Now we need this, this is the solution, consequences. If we suck up all the moisture through our innovation, understand the local weather pattern and other consideration and other beings who are dependent upon that moisture, even in that arid region. We do not think of consequences. We adopt innovation because it is so good and it solves the current problem. But we are the only species who is capable of creating 2 or 3 more problems while solving one. No other species is capable of doing that.
Fantastic, sir.
Great, sir. Thank you very much. Yeah. And I
Thank you,
would like to
Mayurji.
hear, yeah, like to hear more development on the Vishwamiti project, as I'm from Vadodara, and of course, it's a great initiative, and we are seeing us change as of now. That's a great change.
Yeah. It is a long story. We can make another presentation about Vishwamitra some other day.
Yes, yes.
Thank you for
Okay,
your question.
thank you.
Thank you.
This is from Rekha Bhaskaran. Why is it that cleaning and reclamation of Indian rivers like Jamna ji has been a failure?
You tell me. It is the similar stories everywhere. I begin always with values and end in experiences. What do we value? Let us get a consensus on that. Of course, without power, we don't have the capacity to get a value-based consensus. But that is why movements are important. That is why awareness campaigns and Lage Raho Munna Bhai are important. So Jamuna case, as especially as it passes through Delhi, who is the owner? Is Delhi Municipal Corporation the owner? Is Jal Board is the owner? Is DDA the owner? Who takes, where does the buck stop? Is Jal Shakti Mantralaya the owner? Is something happening upstream that is not good? Is something happening through the lateral connections of other nalas that join that join Jamuna? So the failure is not something that we should talk as a failure, because that again defeats our spirit. What we should recognize that it is a wicked problem. We need to refocus, retell the story. Oh, this is such an important river, mythologically, religiously, wah, 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 all things. So how do we rephrase it? Is that we have to understand that all these stakeholders, all these different kind of ecosystem that are part of Jamuna, they present us with great challenge as well as a great opportunity. And instead of pointing fingers, we can say that, okay, what is common thread that is through all the stakeholders? Once you identify the common thread, let us then build upon that. There is another great book called Barriers and Bridges to Ecosystem and Organization Renewal. It's a great book. And it talks about how renewal in organizations and ecosystems can happen by understanding the barriers and bridges. We understand barriers, but we do not focus on the bridges that are hidden or apparent in a system. So let us first identify the positives, the bridges,
What is
get
the
the strength from it to cross the barriers.
What is the author's name, sir?
Oh, this is
C.S.
Gunderson
Holling.
Light. It is an edited book by 3 great
C.S. Holling, Lance
scientists.
H. Gunderson, and Stephen Light.
Yeah,
I've
please
mentioned
put
in
it
the
in
chat.
chat box. Please put it.
I've already put it.
Thank you. Okay. The next talk is from Shelly Jain. I'm a landscape designer, and every time we are designing, I've been told to design human-centric, and we are creating spaces for them. But the moment we add humans, the space and environment is exploited. What do you think is ideal way to design spaces without affecting ecologies?
Just say yes to your client and do your thing. In the sense that as a professional, we have to fulfill what the client's needs, the requirements. But we should not blindly accept those requirements. Our role is not only that of a designer, our role is that of an educator and advocate also. As professionals, we are not there to cater to all the whims and requirements of and we may not win every battle. But do your thorough landscape analysis, identify the patterns and processes that are important from an ecological point of view, and just say that, see, talk about what you are fulfilling the client's need. It took me 4 different levels of presentations with this multinational corporation in Indian. I can give the name, Suzlon Corporation, the windmill people. It took me 4 different levels of being at it. First, it was a 4-page letter, PDF with certain examples, and then it was a discussion. Then it was further discussion with larger group of people, and there I made a presentation. And then it was like a meeting at the corporate headquarters. And the way to do this is to nudge their ego, find out something about the client. So in my case, that client happened to be a member of a nature club in his previous city. And I came to know that everybody is a nature lover. So when I suggested a way that you might be the only windmill company of an SEZ where you value nature, powering a greener future is the tagline. So powering a greener future on a green campus. So it takes us, our knowledge and our perseverance to educate and then gradually win over the client and say, oh yes, this is what I will achieve. It should be owned by the client. It should not be like imposition by us on the client. And it takes time. It takes experience also. It takes good examples. And just you are in a beautiful discipline called landscape architecture. And its basis is land. Landscape is a compound word. Land is the larger concept of ecological systems. And scape is not view. Scape is in partnership with. So our discipline is about in partnership with land, shaping it with knowledge and care and creativity.
Fantastic. So this is from Nikhileshwari S. What is the answer to the shaving off of the hills for the beautification of buildings in urban spaces? Are these not disturbing the ecology, disturbing the flows of rivers, etc.? What are the environmentalists doing about it?
Again, the more we talk, the more I want the audience, the person to answer that question to me. Because they know the answer. In a way, whatever is not in alignment with Satyam and Shivam is likely to create dissonance. And I'm not talking about philosophical thing.
It is
I'm
not
talking about
philosophical,
the way.
sir. It is not about
Yeah, it is
philosophy.
not.
I had been recently, I had been to
1
Bangalore.
minute, ma'am, 1 minute.
Yeah.
Let Mr. Sishir complete his answer, then you can ask.
No,
Okay.
please let her speak. Let her come out with her query.
See, recently I had been to Bangalore. The bus was going past Nandi Hills.
Mhm.
Nandi Hills, what I saw, of course, I saw some 20 years back. And suddenly I saw a part of it has happily shaven away. Then I thought, is it a beheaded Nandi Hill? Or is it a part of, you say a wrong word to use though, some cancerous part of the hill has been removed. It looked like that. I pity it because so many animals, birds, the smaller ones, the bigger ones, anyway, people don't disturb much because even that is disturbed. But then the smaller ones are disturbed. Where will they go?
True. And Nikhileshwari ji,
Yes.
the development authorities,
Yes.
whichever it is in any city,
Yeah.
which passes a plan, it is called town planning plan or zonal plan or city development plan or whatever different names are there. there is a provision in Indian Constitution for people's participation. They put a small notice in some newspaper. And we are made so busy to run our daily lives that despite our deep passion for environment, none of us are aware of that. So a small group of people, one or two of them, should be after such notices.
Okay.
And we should, whoever, male, female, child, youth, student, labor, whoever, come together and say that, yes, we read this and now we want to hear out what you are proposing. Give us some time to give you the feedback.
Okay.
So we are always lamenting when the tree is cut, when the highway is built, but we are not proactively participating in the process that is there for us. So that is one kind of answer, which takes time, courage, whatever, commitment. The second answer is when we grow in a city, we need to build a network of people who are like-minded. So we can become more proactive rather than reactive. We have to be alert.
I agree.
Right? Because
In
we
fact, that is
know
the
that
reason when this thing came up in Facebook, I happened to put my name and tried to be a part of the thing.
But in I do not know whether this word in Hindi and Gujarati will make sense to you. It is called
I understand
Talmukhi.
Gujarati, no issues.
Talmukhi. Talmukhi is the one who takes away life, gulps life. You know, what is रेवरेंड कालका माता के लिए भी किया जाता है, लेकिन ये कालमुखी एक विलेजर ने बताया था. The villager said that Kalmukhi is the asphalt road. Once the road is built, other kinds of development will happen. So instead of fighting the town planning scheme within which you fight for the roads alignment, where is the road going? Why we need that kind of road? Because road building triggers other changes in the land use. So there is a process called non-agricultural certificate. So from an agriculture, we turn to non-agriculture. All those nitty-gritties are there, and you start with wherever you are living, you start with the institutions that are there. So for example, in Bangalore, we have IISC, Indian Institute of Sciences. We also have Indian Institute.
I am from Hyderabad.
Hyderabad has so many. Hyderabad,
I have
for
recently
example,
moved to Hyderabad. The thing is, I'm recently moved to Hyderabad.
Okay. So Hyderabad has great universities also, and there are local landscape architects who are my friends who are very sensitive. You find out about them, go and have a chat with them, and be proactive.
Okay. Then I have another question in the same line where I have put that I observed in the Gachibowli region of Hyderabad, most of the buildings, official buildings, are all having glass exterior. Hyderabad, a city where the heated temperatures reach around 45 minimum. Max this year, I think, has gone until 50 or something. Still, they are having, and of course, fortunately or unfortunately, my daughter being an architect, she says this is a very wrong way of building buildings. So what are the architects of Hyderabad doing is my question, including of course the civil engineers, etc. Because the guys who are providing money have no sense about ecology.
You are a mother, you are a woman, and therefore you are a Shakti.
Thank you.
And as a Shakti,
yes,
you seek an appointment with the head of the Department of Architecture program. And don't go alone. Go with a few people and say that I am asking you this question. What are you going to do about changing the curriculum or changing the way you give the examples of good architecture?
Yes.
That is one level of intervention one can do. The second level of intervention is when you as a consumer tell the owner of the building, this is stupidity.
Surely.
So that you can reach from both the ends, the developer mindset and the education system.
Yes.
We cannot just do blame game nahi karni hai. We do not want to blame. We say that there are better things. Why don't you
Yes.
try that? The developers do not know to ask the questions to the architect. The architects are also governed by the money part, that I have to
Yes,
cater to the need of the client.
I
The
agree.
client should ask that, no, I don't, tell me the advantages and disadvantages of this elevation treatment versus that elevation treatment. Or even better, just give a simple direction. I want passive measures for my comfort, either for cooling or heating, not active measures. Active measures are where you switch on the fan or switch on the AC.
Yes.
Just give this simple instruction to your architect or to your civil engineer, whatever, and see mechanical engineer and see how they will change.
Okay. Sure.
So one more question
Thank
from the same lady. Which are the courses that you could advise for young architects to take to become more conscientious?
Conscious.
It is, see, just a curriculum of architecture is not going to be enough, because the curriculum of architecture is governed by Council of Architecture requirements, though they give a lot of flexibility. And I think my colleagues, my good friends who are teachers in Department of Architecture, they are very conscious people also. It is just that market values determine the outcome. It is not that students are not sensitive, but it is like, see, we have this Indian Green Building Council headquartered in Hyderabad. Go and talk with them.
Sure, will do. Thank
Indian
you.
Green Building Council.
Okay.
And I mean, there are numerous things that few people can come together and prioritize. In the next 3 months, we are going to do this much as homework, and then we are going to talk with these authorities, whether it is an education institution or whether it's the development authority or whatever. So gradually one can bring about the change.
Sure, sir. Because all these years it took to disintegrate the ecosystem. Now we have to start building it for our future generations to use the thing. But by the way we are going, probably
Not
nothing will
only
be
for,
left for the future generations.
yes, good. Not only for our future generation, for future generation of all species.
I agree.
Yes.
Though I am a animal helper, anyway, I'm not picking up the topic now. I have had asked, multitude of questions. I'm very happy with the session. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining in.
Next question from Dan Send. To protect the Red River and rare fish, China destroyed 300 dams, shut down hydropower stations. Is that a good ecological decision?
See, now there is, you're talking about the Chinese example, right? That big dam demolition and the other 300 dams. It is not just China. China has come into news recently because of the scale at which they are doing. Dams have been decommissioned in other countries for other reasons also. I mean, for ecological reasons or environmental reasons. So this is not the first time. It is just that China happens to be our neighbor. China also has a way of promoting their work. So decommissioning dams is something that requires a lot of study, as I said, consequences. But the consequences are based on, acceptance of consequences are based on values. Which value you want to promote or you want to uphold. So if a trout fish migration is important and if a dam is a barrier to that migration, then we have to convince the government, or the government gets convinced by experts' input, policymakers, and then the steps begin to happen. So now the question is, what will happen to hydroelectricity? So China is also installing the biggest solar panel alternative energy source. So it is not that it is doing something bad for its economy. Actually, by removing the dams, it is going to promote a different kind of alternative and economy based on a healthier ecosystem. It will create livelihoods of different kinds. It will restore quality of landscape and quality of life. So apparently when we look at the superficial news and don't dig deeper and look at all the lateral and vertical connections to that news, we kind of get stuck in this headlines, not the consequences, positive and negative both. Haji,
Sir,
bolo.
with this, it was a very long session. Your knowledge is immense, and I didn't want to cut short because this was a very critical topic and an urgent topic, and I wanted you to answer. So thank you so much for being patient with all of us.
No, thank you for being patient, and thank you to Vishwa Talk people team for allowing for us to continue like this. See, I'm an energizer bunny for this topic and for this cause. I'll go on until the last person is or systematically Vishwa Talk team can collect the questions and then we can have different way to respond to those queries.
Every question was answered. Every question was answered.
I'll also send the chat to you post the session.
Yes.
All the testimonials and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I was not scrolling. I was stuck at one comment. Right.
There were multiple amount of compliments. There's no time to cover it, but we will send it to you. Thank you so much. And thank you to all the audience for being patient to listen to such a critical topic. Please share with your friends and family about the importance of this topic and why we need to create awareness about multiple topics. Be with Vishwa Talks. And Trishant, please take over.
Thank you again, sir. It's a privilege to hear you speak, learn from you. I've seen sir working throughout our daytime, which is nighttime for him. And I've also seen him working during night. So I can't describe enough how much effort you put in and how grateful my generation and youngsters should be to individuals like you. Thank you so much for your time, sir. Thank you so much for your insights. I'll request you to join a breakout room link that will pop up on your screen shortly. And I would like to thank all of the participants for joining us today. I'm sharing. Yes.
I want to thank the 31 people who are still hanging around and till the last question and showing their interest. So one of the things I want to end with is thank you for not only thanks is a customary thing to thank you, but also if Vishwa Talks or somebody can facilitate, create a group who can discuss ecological sciences as applied to human conditions and human development or human-oriented development and species-oriented development. We should continue this with this energy and hopefully create a momentum towards this particular value system that my presentation was trying to convey.
For sure, sir. We'll try to work on a group. We'll also try to just a moment. We'll also interact with all the participants who have interacted with the poll and mentioned they want to be a part of the group. So I'll send the data to you post the session of the interactions in the chat and we can move on accordingly. I request Rakesh to project the breakout room link again. Yeah.
Okay, now I click the join button.
Yes, sir, please do.
Okay, thank you.
Requesting Shrivani ma'am.
Thanks, audience. Have a good afternoon and evening in India. Bye.
I'd like to thank all of the participants who are with us till now. I'm sharing the link of the talk in case you've missed any part of it. Kindly share it with anybody and everybody who needs to learn about our ecologies more. And also, that's a goodbye from me. I'll see you next week again. Thank you for joining us.